Hi everyone, how you all doing? Can you hear me clearly? It looks like all of you are looking forward to this story that I'm going to be talking about. I've been just looking through the comments. Or looking through the chats, I should say. Yeah, you can't wait for the Madam Web story. A lot of you, surprisingly, are really looking forward to that story. There is some interesting information to come out of the box office for this, so yeah. All rise for Captain Eric, says Charleston. Yes, the captain is... I was just going to say the captain is here, then the Dark Lord just said the captain is here. Hi all of you, so good to see all of you again. I always look forward to seeing you again after all this time. Elite says, I may not stick around for this entire stream because I'm going to the movies today. Okay, that's good, but what movie are you watching? Does it happen to be the movie that we're covering today? How many of you have seen Madam Web, by the way? I'm curious. How many of you have actually taken the plunge to see it? Captain's on Eric. The Movie King 3000 says, what was my thoughts on the Deadpool 3 trailer? I put it on my Patreon, so you can see my thoughts there. Cole, I salute you too. You're not the only one that salutes Captain Eric. Captain Eric, I'm back after I missed like 2 live streams. That's alright, it's good to see that you're back here. Let's see. The G Gamer says that he's not because he's heard the bad reviews. Eric I Am Better says me and it's ass. Do you still stand by that Disney should not buy Sony? Did I say Disney should not? I can't even remember. I feel like I have said something about them, but it might have been such a long time ago that I can't even remember now. Let's see. Oh, Muth Khan says, first time tuning in live. Oh, that's great. I hope you enjoy the live stream then. We got plenty more coming. I do one every week on a Sunday. Let's see. Charleston says, I'm going to watch Madam Web on Tuesday just because my friend is a big Spider-Man fan. I'm not expecting anything good from it. It might as well be hate watching. Yeah, I hear that that it is fun to hate watch. In fact, a friend of mine actually just showed me footage on his phone about the first 5 minutes of the movie, if that. And it was basically the opening of the movie where you see Madam Web's mother in the forest, and she's pregnant with Madam Web, and she's in the woods, and she's got all her people helping her research spiders before she died, apparently. And one of the things that happens is that the bad guy in that, whose name I can't remember, he's on that expedition with her, and as she finds the spider and they find what they're looking for, all of a sudden he shoots a couple of her friends, and then she looks at him and she's like, I don't understand. And I looked at my friend, and he looked at me with like a smile on his face, and I was like, who the hell says I don't understand after their supposed friend shoots a couple of their other friends? Who says I don't understand? You have a look of fear on your face. You don't look puzzled. You don't ask a weird question like that as your reaction. But that's exactly what she did. So when people say, was this movie written by AI? I can't help but think the same thing. That's what I was thinking for the first time. Usually people say, was this written by AI? And I'm like, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but this is the first time I was thinking, was this written by AI? It was so dumb, and I told him just, that's enough. I have to be in the right mindset to hate watch something, and right there, in that moment, I wasn't. So I said, just stop it right there. And he's like, yeah, bad, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, really bad. And I've heard a lot of people posting stuff on Twitter and things and talking about how bad it is. It's very funny how bad it is, but you got to be in the right mindset. Cole says, I used a gift card to see Madam Web, so it didn't waste any money. Well, that's a good thing. Yeah, a lot of you didn't see it. AGN says he saw it. Bill Cipher, I didn't. I haven't seen it. I didn't and will never, said Big Bash. I'm not going to waste my money like that, says Spirit Hero. Yeah, G Gamer hasn't because he's heard the bad reviews. Very wise of all of you not to watch it. Oh, look at that. Iron Warrior has done a super chat, and it's a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, buddy, for that. $5 super chat says, hey, I forgot Madam Web was coming out this week. Yeah, it has come out already, yeah, and it's not doing well, as we will discuss in the story in a second. So, let's see here. Let's see if there's any Streamlab chats before I get going. Ooh, looks like we have got a Streamlabs chat, but who's it from? It's a good thing I checked before going straight into the story, so let's find it. Okay then, let's see. Oh, Yako the Volcanic Muto is already here. Who's done a... Let's write this down. I put it in pounds recently for my own conversion. He's done a £1 Streamlabs chat. Says, "Hey Eric, happy Sunday. I won't be typing on the chat since my channel has been terminated by YouTube." Oh, so no wonder I didn't see you. It's been terminated. That's a shame. I hope you've backed up your videos that you've put up there, because you put up quite a few of them. Oh, that's such a sad thing to hear. Well, whenever you do get another channel up, make it a similar name so I know it's you, and then let me know, and then in future reference I'll always remember that's you. But I'm so sorry to hear that, buddy. I really am. That's very sad to hear. Eric says, "You saw that too. You're tearing me apart." Yeah, I saw that part of it. Yeah. Yako, thank you very much for the super chat. The Streamlabs chat. I really do appreciate it. So, Big Bash, my day has been good so far, and it's even better now that I'm speaking with you guys. I'm definitely in a nicer mood than I was with the last live stream I did. So it's a happier Captain Eric today, that's for sure. Okay, so as always, and I'm saying this for anyone who's new to the live streams, which we've just found out that we have got some new viewers here. King K is back. I'm doing good, buddy. Thanks very much. Now we're about to get into the stories, and as always, when I tell these stories, these on the live stream, I'll glance at the chat, but I'm not going to answer any questions. Reason being is so this way I can stay on point and I can just stay very coherent and cohesive when I'm talking about the stories, and this way I won't get distracted. The only time I will break away from the story and actually answer your questions is if you give a super chat or a Streamlabs chat. Then I will take a break from what I'm talking about, and I'll answer whatever question you have for me. It will support the channel and help keep me going as well in the process. So any donations you can do would be thoroughly appreciated, greatly appreciated. And yes, Jess, I can see you in the chat, and thank you for hailing Captain Eric. I appreciate that. Okay. Oh, Charleston, well, that's great. It means that now you have made a channel and now you can join in on the live streams. Hi, Matthew. It's great to see you as well. All right, then. So, with that said, let's get on to the first story. And also, a quick thing I'll mention for new people here. I have new Patreon members written down here, which basically means if anyone joins Patreon whilst I'm on this live stream, I will pop your names down right beneath that for the rest of the stream. And then from here on out, when this video stays documented on YouTube, your name will always stay. You'll always see your name right here at the bottom. So if anyone wants to join Patreon and have their name listed here, you can during these live stream moments that I do. Okay, so with all that said, you know the Super Chats rule, you know the Streamlabs chat rule, and you know the Patreon chat rule. And everyone else, as always, I'll answer during the Q&A session later. So, let's get to the first story. Right. Ooh, before I do, it's about the Madam Web box office. Let me just see if there are any updates on the Madam Web box office. Because I wasn't able to get any international numbers, just domestic numbers. So let's see if they've changed that. Okay, they have. So I have additional numbers here to go off of now, so that's good. Okay then, so let's get started. No, you haven't, Pizza Man. You got here just in time. We're about to get onto the first story. Okay then, so Madam Web. Now, we're going to get straight into the box office numbers for this. Now, domestically, this movie has made $23.3 million at the box office. In America, this is. And what's interesting is that you'd think, oh, 23.3 million. First of all, that is incredibly low. But on the plus side, you might be thinking, well, even though it's low on the box office, At least this was made over the 3-day weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Turns out no. This box office figure was actually made in 6 days, because this movie came out early, and it came out on Valentine's Day. So basically, it had extra days, like double the time, and it still made this low figure. And to put things into perspective, Morbius had just the usual 3-day opening weekend. And Morbius made $39 million with 3 days, and Madam Web has made 23.3 in 6 days. And this is just domestic numbers right here. That is very bad. That's very bad for any movie, but it's especially bad for a superhero movie. So that's a very, very bad. And to put it into perspective, even this number for Morbius, even this was considered bad for Morbius standards. Now, I'm going to take a quick break from that before I go back into it, because we got 2 super Streamlabs chats, it looks like. Wow, look at that. We've got the Movie King 3000, who's done a £2.38 Streamlabs chat. And then we've also got another super chat, which I'll answer in a second. So, the Movie King 3000 says, do you think Deadpool and Wolverine could save the MCU? Because in my opinion, it's going to take more than one movie to save them. Also, I've been watching the Defenders saga and just finished Daredevil Season 2, and I'm loving it so far and can't wait for Season 3. Ooh, wait until you see Daredevil Season 3. That's my favourite of every Marvel TV show ever made. Daredevil Season 3 is just my favourite. It'll really put the Kingpin in the Echo show that we got to complete and utter shame once you see that as well. But no, I don't think Deadpool and Wolverine's going to save the MCU. It's going to be that one movie that gives audiences what they want, and from what it looks like, it doesn't look like the MCU has got their fingerprints all over it, but we'll have to wait and see. But like I said, I hope Ryan Reynolds is the only one that gets to have creative control over that. Him, Hugh Jackman. I hope the MCU people stay out of it, because I don't want a single ounce or a single pixel of any MCU touches on there. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to help them, but it will give them one good box office performer, and it should tell them that give people the characters they want to see, because Marvel keep releasing a bunch of heroes that people don't care about. So this just proves, make movies about superheroes that people actually want to see, and do it properly. And yeah, but I don't trust that they can. And then we have Jonah White, who has done an £11.90 super Streamlabs chat. Thank you very much, Jonah. I really appreciate it. He goes, Jonah says, hello, woke up from a nap just in time. Yeah, it really is just in time. If Venom 3 did use a Spider-Man, which one should they use and why? Not that this will make the movie any good, lol. But that's the question. Well, first question. And the second question is also, do you like The Flash or Shazam 2 more and why? Okay, first question about Venom 3. If they were to use any Spider-Man, I think the best Spider-Man to use would have been Andrew Garfield. But at the same time, I would have said Tom Holland would be the better one to use. But I feel like there's less potential there, because Tom Holland, I just don't know. I don't feel like he's been through enough to all of a sudden throw Venom at him, whereas Garfield had been through a lot. So throw Venom at him, especially after Amazing Spider-Man 2. There's potentials of things that could be done there, I think, with regards to the symbiote storyline, which I'm sure would attach itself to him. But with Holland, I felt like it would have been too soon to do it, to give him this a Venom. And also, which movie do I like better, The Flash or Shazam 2? I like both of them for different reasons, but I would say The Flash probably gets the edge. But I do like Shazam 2 as well. But probably The Flash, I'd say, is the better one. Thanks very much for your 2 questions there, guys. And it does seem that we've got... we got a £2 super chat from Elite, who's just given a very quick message saying, definitely not Madam Web, I'm seeing Lisa Frankenstein. Well, good for you, for sure, definitely. Seeing any other movie other than Madam Web, I feel like, is the better choice. Okay, so let's quickly see if there's any other super chats I missed here, and then we'll go back to... No, it looks like I haven't. So, alright, back to the story at hand. So yeah, those are the box office numbers for Madam Web and Morbius, and that's just their opening weekend performances, except for Madam Web, which of course got even more days, and it still performed very badly. So this just proves, and I gotta say, even that was considered bad in Morbius standards, but Madam Web was even worse, clearly. This just proves that Sony's Spider-Man spin-off movies are going through a downward spiral, and it shows how the first Venom being a hit for Sony was a very bad thing for the studio, because Venom's success convinced them to make even more villain spin-off movies, and it has just resulted in complete and utter failure for them. I mean, even Venom 2 made less money than the first one. Sony has the reputation of being the worst studio to make a comic book universe, and that reputation continues to hold true with each additional release. So, movies like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, as I have said for a long time now, the only reason those movies are successful is because Sony kept their fingers out of it and left it to the creatives, because they thought that the real money was in live action, and they didn't want to they didn't think it was worth their time to give guidance to the Spider-Verse movies. So they gave all of their attention at guiding the live-action spin-off films, and look at where that got them. So yeah, Madam Web, a failure as we expected it to be. That's not a surprise to anyone. But I would say still not as big a failure as I think it deserved to be. Although the fact that it debuted second at the box office to a Bob Marley movie is pretty embarrassing. So yeah, it shows that people did want to go see a movie on Valentine's Day, but they did not want to see they just did not want to see Madam Web. So I think Sony got the message loud and clear, but whether they are smart enough to take it on board, I think they are not. So I think they're just going to still keep making more of these. The only thing they can say is that the budget for it was 80 million. But I think, to be honest, it's an $80 million budget, but you have to remember, advertising budget on top of that, even though they did, you can tell, nixed a lot of the advertising. I mean, they didn't even pay for a second trailer, it seems, so it shows that they really didn't care. So I don't know how high the box office, the marketing costs are, but I can tell they didn't put much money in it. But so far, internationally as well, international box office was 25 million, so 25.7 million. So worldwide, it's made $49 million in the 6 days that it's been released. And it's only going to get worse from here on out. And in about a couple weeks from now, we're going to get Dune Part 2 coming out, which I think will completely drown this movie and just kill it at that point. So don't be surprised if this movie hits streaming very soon, or video on demand, PVOD. Okay, we've got another Streamlabs chat, and it is from Iron Warrior, who's done a £4.76 Streamlabs chat. So thank you very much, Iron Warrior, who says, "Hey, this site finally works for me. That's great. I'm curious as to why it didn't work for you before. Did you try it before, or has it just sporadically started working now?" Which is very bizarre. Iron Warrior is contributing to what I said about Deadpool 3 earlier. He says, "I think Deadpool 3 will be like Guaranteed 3, where it's a lightning in a bottle for Disney, but not save the MCU." I agree. It's not going to. It's going to be that one good movie, but it's because all the people behind it are Ryan Reynolds people and Hugh Jackman. It's not any of the MCU people behind it, so that's why it looks like it's going to be a success, which tells you a lot about the current state of the MCU, and the fact that people are looking forward to seeing an MCU movie that is not about the MCU characters. It's about the Fox characters that were made by a completely different studio. That already tells you how bad of a state the MCU is in, that these characters are going to get in all the money, are breaking trailer view records, but none of the other Marvel characters are doing that. And on top of that, it also just shows that Kevin Feige, the rumor is that he wants to put Deadpool and Wolverine in the Kang Dynasty, and the only reason he's doing it is because he's seen an early version of Deadpool 3, and he really likes it. So it's like, if that is how you're basing your story decisions, that, oh, these two are popular, put them in there. Oh, Daredevil's popular, put him in there. It's just not going to work out well. Clearly, he's not looking at it from a story perspective. But yeah, I hope that they just try to kill off a lot of those MCU characters, because no one's interested in them. But the other part of Iron Warrior's question on Streamlabs is, my question is, with Tales of the Jedi Season 2, which Jedi would you want them to follow, excluding Mace? I would want to see more Count Dooku, of his origin, of how he became, evil. And I would also like to see more of Qui-Gon, because I liked his backstory. Maybe a young Obi-Wan and a Qui-Gon would be cool. And on top of that, I'd also like to see more Ahsoka and Anakin, because there are more stories of that. Apparently there's an origin of Ahsoka's which never got made with the original Clone Wars show, and Dave Filoni did say that he wanted to tell more of her origin like that, so I hope we get that in Season 2. I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope the episodes are longer as well, not just tails. It fits, but I hope they can make them longer. Thank you very much, Iron Warrior, for your first Streamlabs chat. And yeah, like I said, whenever you donate through Streamlabs, I get all the donation. Whereas if you do it on the Super Chats on YouTube, they take a little bit from it. But I get all of it from Streamlabs. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Selena says, how many trailers did Madam Web get? It only got the one. The people are waiting on the others, but it didn't get them. The TV spots came out after that, so yeah. So, what do you guys think of Madam Web and its, quite frankly, embarrassing box office situation? And do you think Sony are going to stop after this? They'll see this and say, alright, we've got Craven coming out, we're just going to stop doing... that'll be our last one, then we're going to stop. Or do you think they're going to put more into production? It was her origin of how she got found out that she had the Force, but there's another origin story of when the Jedi come to get her, and it's not the Jedi that actually come to get her, it's actually a bounty hunter. Dave Filoni has talked about this on the Untold Clone Wars episodes at some sort of like Lucasfilm Con or something, and he talks about what they didn't get to make when Disney cancelled them. So yeah, when they bought Lucasfilm, Disney cancelled the Clone Wars. So yeah, they will... that's why I want to see more of her origin in that way. Let's see. Iron Warrior says, oops, not Guardians 3, not Guaranteed 3. My bad, with my Deadpool comment. Yeah, I could tell something was on that was a bit misspelt or something there, so I tried to recover. But yeah. Madam Web needed better writers for this movie and keep Sony and Avi Arad out of this. You bring up a very good point, Jess, about Avi Arad, because I was talking to my brother about this, and I was saying, this is not a movie where people should just get off scot-free after this. The fact that they greenlit this and that they let the movie get as bad as it got, some people at Sony need to lose their jobs for this, and I'm talking about executives. I'm not blaming the director, who, I've seen some interviews with the director, she actually seems quite nice, she does, and she directed some episodes of Jessica Jones, which I thought was okay, but she doesn't seem like the activist type of director. She does seem more level-headed, but that's just from the interviews I saw. I don't know for sure if that's true or not. But she does seem pretty nice and everything. So it's a shame to see this happen to her, you know, where you could tell that the executives were like just pulling her like left, right, and center as far as a director goes. And yeah, it's just quite sad. But yeah, I feel like Avi Arad or some people, they really need to be held accountable for what they've done here. It's really inexcusable. But the fact that they still get to just go around... and still have their jobs and stuff, and it's the other people that are going to be looked at in an unfavored way, I think is quite despicable, to be honest. But we know that about Hollywood all the time. But come on, when there's such blatant examples here that the studio is coming in and making all these terrible business decisions and these terrible creative choices, they should be held accountable. Some of those executives, like Amy Pascal and Avi Arad, but unfortunately they're not. They're still able to keep making these dumb calls. MovieFan2002 has given a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, buddy. Says, when did I think the Clone Wars started getting great? It started getting great with some episodes of Season 2, but it really started to get great with Season 3. From Season 3 onwards, it just kept getting better and better and better and darker and more adult. So, yeah, everyone will tell you, the first two seasons... A lot of people will tell you the first two seasons are crap, start from Season 3. I disagree. I think Season 1 was okay. Season 2 was good, like just plain good. But Season 3 is where it started to get really good. And there definitely is stuff that happens in the first two seasons where it connects to the later seasons. So I would definitely recommend watching the first two seasons. Season 2 in particular had some horror episodes in there that were getting ideas from like aliens and stuff. So it was really cool what they were doing in that. Spirit Hero says, hey Eric, which is worse, Sony or the MCU? Sony. Although, the fact is, I would say that even though Sony are the worst, the MCU is close in their own way. Because they have bigger characters that they're kind of screwing over, and that's its own sin. Matthew says, Eric, is your name actually Eric Carter, or is your YouTube name supposed to be Eric Cartman from South Park? When I was younger, people didn't use their real names on YouTube and on the internet, so they would always use code names or stuff that sounded similar, so I used Eric Cartman. But once people did start using their names, then I used my real name and I put in Eric Carter. So, Yeah, it used to be Ecotman 12 for that very reason, because, you know, people didn't use their real names at the time. Yeah, Darksaber. Season 4 of The Clone Wars was amazing. I wouldn't say it's my favorite season. I think Season 5 was my favorite, but Season 4 was still great. The G Gamer says, I think it's because of the first Venom movie success box office wise. They wanted to keep doing more of these types of movies, then it backfired. Yeah, I agree. I even said that when I was discussing the poor box office performance for Madam Web. AGN says, did you hear Henry Cavill is in the MCU? I heard a rumor, so we'll see if that is true. Saeed235 says, hey Eric, I heard that Bassem Youssef got kicked out of a role from Superman Legacy because he spoke up about Palestine. That's why I'm not watching Superman Legacy and all the other James Gunn DC movies. Yeah, I heard about that. So that pretty much tells you what that movie is, whose side it's on, which is obvious because Hollywood is the West trying to tell that story, and no one wants to hear the West tell that story. So I heard they've moved away from the Middle East, and they're saying that it's Eastern Europe or something. That is the that who they're involving in the story now. So we'll see what they do. But I'm glad they've taken it a spotlight away from that, because the last thing we want is the West covering that, because we know the West is so biased. And that's going to just damage their universe, quite frankly, if they did that. I don't know if it was James Gunn that fired him, or if it was people at the top of Warner Brothers that did that. Because James Gunn has not made it clear what he thinks. And I think, based on his politics, I would assume he has a good idea of it. But my concern is that Warner Brothers will not allow him to tell it the way he wants to tell it. So, but thing is, at the end of the day, I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know, though, if James Gunn really is on the side of Palestine, or if he's just one of those other, Zionists at Hollywood. I don't know. MovieFan2002 has given a $20 super chat. Thank you very, very much for that, buddy. I really appreciate that. And he says, I recently rewatched your Mario and Sonic Versus video, and I was surprised to discover that you said DS and 3DS were the best ways to play Mario Kart. What is wrong with games like Double Dash, Wii, Mario Kart Wii, and 8 Deluxe? Well, nothing is wrong with those. It's just that I never played those because I never had a Nintendo Wii, I never had a Nintendo GameCube, and I never had a Switch or a Wii U. Although, I did emulate Mario Kart 8 on my Steam Deck, and I emulated it from the Wii U. And that was fun. I did have fun with that. But the one that I've grown up playing a lot throughout my childhood has been Mario Kart DS, which I mainly played multiplayer with my brothers and sisters, as we all connected our DSs to each other and, played as a multiplayer. That's what I played most as. But the single player I wasn't too into with Mario Kart DS. But Mario Kart 3DS was the first single player one on Mario Kart that I really did enjoy. But yeah, I wasn't a huge Mario Kart player, although I did play with my brothers and sisters when I was younger. Fireboy says, Eric, it's great to see you again, Fireboy. Says, which is the worst, Morbius or Madam Web? I haven't seen Madam Web, so I can't say. I was considering watching it, but then I thought, nah, I'm just going to be saying more of what other people are going to be saying. I might cover it in the future, but not for the meantime. I'm going to be focusing on other videos that I need to do. Jess says, Eric, do you really want Disney to buy Sony because they will also own PlayStation, and that's not good because Disney will make it worse? Yeah, I don't want... I heard they're going to try to buy Sony Pictures originally, so that means the Sony gaming division should be left alone because they want the movie division. But thing is, Disney is in such a pickle right now financially. They're really in big trouble. They've been having so many flops in movies. Their theme parks have not been performing as well. Disney Plus costs so much money to maintain. They're really doing bad, Disney are. So the last thing they want to do is buy another division. Because look at the divisions they've already bought. They bought Pixar, they bought Marvel, and they bought Lucasfilm. And they're just running those businesses into the ground. And it's not looking good on them. The last thing they want to do right now when they're losing money, Disney, is saying, okay, let's buy another studio. They can't afford it right now. They're in big trouble. From what I hear, they're struggling as it is just to make the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So, yeah, they're in big trouble, it seems. King K says, how would you rank the MCU phases? Probably Phase 1, Phase 3, Phase 2, and then Phase 4 and 5 and 4, because there's not enough stuff in Phase 5 yet, but there has been a ton of crap in Phase 4. But Phase 5 is not doing good either, though. Dark Saber says, which studios are worse in the past recent years? Disney, Sony, or Warner Brothers? I'd say all three have been bad in their own way. Aritra says, are you excited or worried for Netflix's The Last Airbender coming out this week? I'm worried, personally. I think from what I've heard so far, the people running it just don't understand the property, and they're just looking at it as just a sexist thing, I think. Like with Sokka saying that was iffy, they're looking at that and saying, oh, that's just sexist. It's like, no, that's character development. That's kind of the point of what that was supposed to be, but they seem to be too thick to really realize that. So, yeah, I don't really have that kind of faith in them. So, yeah. But stay tuned for my Versus videos, because I will be comparing it to the animated show. That's my idea to do that. This Thursday is when it's coming out, apparently. So I'm going to start watching them, and then, yeah, I'll start covering them. Okay, then. Time to move on to the second story for this live stream. And that will be the Fantastic Four casting. That's what we're going to talk about next. Let me just get everything ready here. Okay, so everyone, give me a second here. Let me just make this capture device of me a little bit smaller so you can see more of the images that I put up soon. Okay, so Fantastic Four. Whoops-a-daisy. Let's just fix that. There we go. Yeah, Big Bash, I noticed that. It looks like a lot of people didn't really want to talk about Madam Web, so they didn't really have much to say, so that's why moving on to the next story. So, Fantastic Four, official casting. ADR means additional dialogue recording, Pizza Man. That's what it means. It's basically voiceover. I'm looking at some of you commenting on the Fantastic Four. Like, some of you are not very optimistic about it. Well, let's talk about what I think of the casting then. Now, here is the new cast. This is apparently an official image that Marvel put out, and you can see that they're trying to say that this is what it's interesting that this is the look they're going for, because they're going to go for a 60s kind of period piece movie. And yeah, as you can see here, you got the characters and you got the actors with their faces photoshopped in. I will say that the Thing is interesting to look at him, because I think that's the design they're going to probably try to go for, which is interesting. So, yeah. Yes, they did, Big Bash, want to make the Thing a woman originally, but looks like they went against it, and they tried to make the Silver Surfer a woman now. So, but we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so Pedro Pascal is first, the one they've hired as Reed Richards. And I've got the cast of everyone here. On the top, you're going to see on the left is going to be the superhero, and then on the right next to them is going to be the actor that's playing them. So on the left is the superhero, on the right is the actor. So you can see Reed Richards is going to be played by Pedro Pascal. Now, Pedro Pascal being cast as Reed Richards, there is a lot of talk about this, and I agree. Pedro Pascal is becoming too overexposed, and he's taking too many high-profile roles at right now, to the point where you are starting to see the actor more than you see the character. He's just growing too big too quick, and good for the guy. I mean, he's got a successful career, so that's good. But it just feels like I don't see Reed Richards when I look at you. I see Pedro Pascal. I see Joel. I see The Mandalorian. He's just in too much things, and they really need to kind of like pull back with him. And I think there could have been much better choices. In particular, a newcomer. A newcomer could really turn the role into their own. Just look at the impact that Robert Downey Jr. left on the role of Iron Man. and he was very much a newcomer to audiences, and he did a terrific job. Before that, Marvel wanted to go with the safer choice, which was, I don't know if you guys know this, but Tom Cruise. They wanted Tom Cruise to be Iron Man, but it was Jon Favreau who took a risk, and they ended up with the iconic Robert Downey Jr. But them hiring Pedro Pascal does feel very much like taking the safe Tom Cruise route, rather than the risk and hiring a no-name actor who could really define themselves as the character. But instead, we will just see Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. So we'll see if he changes our minds. But as is, I don't like his casting. I really don't. Yeah, Saeed says it right. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt is what everyone wanted, and I think John Krasinski, even though he didn't do a good job in Multiverse of Madness, that movie was shot like madness. It was just shot so quickly, and apparently the shooting of his scene was done at the last minute, and he didn't even have the suit on him, so they had to CG it on him. And apparently the actors that he was supposed to be speaking to were probably not even in the room, from what I've heard. So I don't blame him for finding it awkward, and for him not to give his best performance. But it would have been fun if, I think, they got, allowed him to act properly and put him in. So that would have been better if they could have used him, but yeah, hey, they're not going to. As for the other members, we have Vanessa Kirby, who's playing Sue Storm. And this is a fine choice, but I will say, I've never seen her in anything that I thought she was great in. But she's always been good in the stuff that she's been in, but, that's it. She's just good. I've got nothing else really to say about it. So let's see if she has what it takes to really bring something to this character. Maybe she can stand out here. The bizarre thing is that she already had a role in the MCU. She played that woman that tried to hit on Steve Rogers in the first Captain America movie. In fact, let me see if I can actually find a picture for you. She was in that movie where she was hitting on Steve Rogers. I can't seem to find a picture, but she was in there. It was that moment where she kissed Steve Rogers and then Peggy got annoyed with him for the rest of the movie. Even shot his shield. It's basically her. So it's interesting to see that she's in another period piece MCU movie. First she was in the Captain America, the First Avenger. Now she's in the 60s Fantastic Four movie that this is supposed to be taking place in. So that's interesting, but we'll have to see what she does. That's what my takeaway is when it comes to her. We need to see how she does. But yeah, that is definitely a weird thing to think about, that she was in that first Captain America movie, which was also a period piece. But that's fine. We also have Ebon Moss, or Ebon Moss, playing The Thing. And I honestly think that Ben Grimm could have been played by anyone, to be honest. We are only going to see him in his human form briefly, and then we are just going to see the CGI character. So we'll see how he does, but I haven't seen this actor in anything, so I don't know if he's a good choice or not. I think he was in Beef or something. Or it might be another show which I'm getting confused with, but yeah, he's a question mark for me. I don't really know what to think of him. The casting choice that I think is the best by far, however, is Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. He played the role, if you remember, of Eddie Munson in Stranger Things Season 4. And you guys will know, I did not like Stranger Things Season 4. I thought it was by far the worst of all the seasons. And it just had a lot of bad writing, bad pacing, the episodes were too long, too many characters, and the drama didn't work. Even what happens to Eddie Munson in the end, it felt like it wasn't built up correctly, like the logic was lacking in it. But yeah, he's apparently going to be in in Fantastic Four, and he's going to be playing Johnny Storm. Yeah, he was in The Bear, that was it, not Beef the Bear. Thanks, Bob the Builder, I appreciate that. So, yeah, he's playing Johnny Storm. And I will say, in Stranger Things Season 4, he was a very good actor, and he showed that he had the chops to play an eccentric youth. Now he needs to really change his style of crazy to play Johnny Storm, but I trust that he can do a great job. So this is a casting that I look at, and I'm like, that makes sense. So yeah, I think the casting overall is okay. It's not making me excited or anything, but, it really comes down to in the end, it really comes down to the writer, director, and the hope that the MCU does not screw it up like they've screwed everything else up. Because the Fantastic Four This is no Echo, this is no The Marvels, this is no Eternals, this is no Shang-Chi. The Fantastic Four are the actual Fantastic Four. These are one of the top brands of Marvel. Right up there with the X-Men. So, these are the big heroes that we have been waiting for this whole time. But Marvel have just been wasting our time with a bunch of other MCU heroes that none of us cared about. So, yeah, they better not screw this up, basically. These are the characters that people have been waiting for, and their patience has to be awarded. So we need to expect great things here. Not decent things, or good things, or okay things, or oh no, this is just another typical Marvel thing with all of its same tropes. We need to see something that's truly great here. Marvel can't make any excuses with this one, like they've been making a lot of excuses with a lot of other things. This one they just can't screw up with. So, what do you guys think then of the casting of our new Fantastic Four? Spirit Hero says, I don't have hope for this movie, honestly. The MCU will still keep being the MCU. I agree. It feels like they're too stubborn to learn. It seems like they're stuck in their ways for some reason. Vecna will be destroyed by Freddy Krueger. Yeah, I agree, Parker. Saeed says they are going to destroy the movie with wokeness. I smell it. Well, I will say this. There is a rumor floating around now that they're looking for an actor to play the Silver Surfer. So apparently they're not going to gender bend the character, which is good. Apparently they wanted a black man to play the Thing, Daveed Diggs. I don't mind a black actor playing the role, but if he had a deeper voice. But if you've heard Daveed Diggs, he did the voice of Sebastian in the live action The Little Mermaid movie. And I mentioned in there, I thought how he had a terrible voice for this. And I don't ever look at that Jamaican-sounding voice and think that, oh, that would fit the Thing. It really wouldn't. So, yeah, we'll see what they do. But they really need to learn because they cannot be making the same mistakes. If they do, this will just be another one of those movies that a lot of people will ignore. Because everyone needs to have good faith towards this. If anyone even smells some bad faith towards this movie is going to be getting roasted. And they cannot have that. So Kevin Feige should not screw this one up, basically. Eric I Am Better says Deadpool 3 has to been a small sight of hope. Deadpool 3 has to been. You must mean has to be. Deadpool 3 has to be a small sight of hope to tell the MCU to wake the F up. Yeah, they should wake up, but I feel like there were a lot of other signs earlier that told them that. So, you know, they still didn't learn it then. I don't know if they'll learn it now, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Nothing is official yet until we actually hear it. Apparently the rumor is that Galactus is meant to be the villain here, but there's been a video going around where people have... yeah, they could have modulated David's voice, but at that point, why don't you just get an actor that has a better voice? You know? Because Daveed Diggs sounds nothing like the Thing. Nothing. But yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy was supposed to be, the female Silver Surfer. Ethan's Drawing says, hey Eric, sorry that I'm late for the stream. That's alright, you joined now, which is good. And we still got one story left, but right now we're just taking questions for what you think of the Fantastic Four. Yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy would fit as oh, Nova. I thought you said Nora, meaning Mr. Freeze's wife or something. But no, I've always said Anya Taylor-Joy would do a good Harley Quinn in Matt Reeves' The Batman. You know, if he decides to bring a Harley Quinn in at some point. Parker, let me see if I can find your previous comment. The prequel, The First Shadow, sounds cool by the plot I've read online. The Mind Flyer possessed Vecna as a kid, giving him powers, and the Mind Flyer is basically Galactus and Vecna and Silver Surfer. That's interesting, that. I didn't think about that. Jess says, Eric, Marvel are acting like a bunch of kids for making their movies weak and pointless, so that's why they are playing it safe. Yeah, in fact, one of the stories I heard a while back, these are rumors that everyone was hearing, is that for Reed Richards and Sue Storm, they wanted to cast Adam Driver and Margot Robbie to be in those roles. That's originally what they wanted to do, but Margot Robbie wanted more money, and Adam Driver also wanted more money, so he didn't do it. So, basically, Marvel wanted top, more recognizable actors, but they didn't want to pay for them. So it just goes to show you can't. They even said with the Fantastic Four they want to get a bigger director to direct the movie, but in the end they got the guy that directed WandaVision. So it shows they just don't want to pay the money to people to to talented directors to actually make a better movie. So yeah, it's kind of stupid on their part. Master Combatant, who has done a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for the super chats, everyone. I really appreciate these. I see that both MCU and DCU viewers are really depending on Deadpool 3 and Superman Legacy. Sorry I'm late. No, it's okay. It's good that you've shown up right now. Yeah, they are depending on those, but I think they're depending on a lot of other movies too. You know, Remember, Joker 2 is coming out this year. So is Deadpool 3. So is the Penguin show. So there are some good stuff coming that I actually would put some, I would bank, I'd play some good wagers and good bets that they would do a good job, personally. So yeah, Rohan, I can notice you. Have you been leaving a message? I keep saying, if you guys really want your messages noticed, do a super chat or a Streamlabs chat, then I will definitely notice it. But if I miss it, that's something that can't be helped because there is a lot of comments that keep scrolling up here. Rohan says, MCU should grow up with their adult audience. I agree. Saeed says, Fantastic Four will be dysfunctioned family in the MCU. Why would you have hope in Disney for making family films anymore? They have not been doing good with the family films, I will say. I've really not liked that. Gregory, I did not watch Madam Web. I saw the first 5 minutes that a friend showed me, but that was it. Bill Cipher says, I think Dave Bautista would be great for The Thing. Yeah, he actually could. He can actually give himself that growly voice as well. Yeah, he would be a very good choice. Thing is, I just don't want to see Dave Bautista playing another dumb character. I want him to play a character that can be 100% serious now. Some people said Dr. Hugo Strange in the Batman universe, whether it's Matt Reeves' Batman or James Gunn's Batman. You could do him. He could play Bane as a fan favorite casting choice. I just don't want to see him play another silly comedian. I think they made Drax too silly overall. And I don't want to see him do another silly character. The G Gamer says, what are your thoughts on the previous Fantastic Four movies? Well, I liked the Roger Corman one, which is the real first one, bored me to sleep. I actually fell asleep at a point. Then we had the 2005 movie, which I did see in the theaters when I was a kid. I was about 9 or 10. I really enjoyed that. I did genuinely enjoy that movie as a kid. And mainly it was because of the cast. I like the cast a lot. When you're older, you can see more of the flaws, but I still like the movie. I like its main theme. I like its cast. I like the chemistry that the cast have. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer had its problems as well, but I also really enjoyed it, and I especially loved the Silver Surfer they did. The person they got to play the Silver Surfer, and then the person they got to voice the Silver Surfer, phenomenal job. I think it was Doug Jones that played him, and it was Lawrence Fishburne who voiced him. That was a great combination right there. They did a phenomenal job with that. But then the Fantastic movie was just terrible, just awful. I think I gave it a 2 out of 10 or something, if I can remember correctly, when I saw it the first time. Bloody awful. And the action scenes they showed in the trailer were not even in the final movie. Master Combatant has given another $5 super chat. Thank you very much. And he says, this is off topic. I feel like the DCU does have a chance. James Gunn has shown to make A tier and S tier movies. Yeah, it does have a much bigger chance. That's why a lot of people, myself included, are saying let's give it a chance and wait and see how it does. It really is all hinging on that Superman movie, though. If James Gunn does a good job with that, then they'll most likely let him continue. If he doesn't, then, we'll just have to see what happens. Jess says, Eric, you think that Kraven or Venom 3 will have Andrew Garfield or not? It won't. Those guys have too much sense. They will know not to go in these Sony spin-off movies. The spin-off movies have just been terrible at this point, so why would they want to join the other ones, especially with Madam Web, and its terrible publicity that it's getting. Parker CS says, did you hear the rumor they'll decanonize phases 4 and 5 with the 2 snaps from Avengers Endgame? If they do, that would be stupid. The only reason I can imagine they would do that is if they want to bring the Avengers back and they are afraid that they're losing money, so yeah. Fireboy says, Eric, who are your favourite Fantastic Four members? The ones in the 2005 movie, I said. I also did used to watch that World's Greatest Heroes Fantastic Four show on Cartoon Network when I was a kid, and that was also fun and good. Okay, guys, we're going to be moving on to the next story in a second. Let me just check if there's any more Streamlabs chats, and then we will move on. Okay. Yes, Aid, I'll quickly mention that. Yeah, in Madam Web, he says apparently in the Madam Web movie they included a scene where Spider-Man is swinging, but they cut it from Raimi's. Yeah, that's something I heard. Basically, the bit when in Spider-Man 2, when Peter misses Mary Jane's play, and then when he starts running down that street, and then he takes his Spider-Man costume out, puts on his mask, and then web swings up, you actually see a first-person view of him going over a building. They actually used that shot in Madam Web because they needed footage or something, so they took that for some reason. And it was on Instagram, and I showed it to my brother, who loves Spider-Man 2. I think that's his favourite superhero movie. And, yeah, I says, imagine that. I said, that's like Batman and Robin putting a bit of the Dark Knight footage in the movie. That's what it would be like for me, in a way, but yeah. Who was the villain in Madam Web? Wasn't it Ezekiel or something? Some guy like that. Carlo Esposito, I think Rohan would be very good as Mr. Freeze. Oh, Spider-Man 2 does turn 20 this year. That's good. I don't know if I thought of that or if my brother even thought of that. I'll let him know that later, Big Bash. Thanks for letting me know that. Okay, then. Yeah, how cheap can you get Indeed? Ethan Drawing says he's seen that. Yeah, it went around on Instagram. It was such a funny sight. Okay, so let's get ready for the next and final story, which is about the X-Men 97 show. No, I haven't watched Madam Web Side. Alright then. Here we go. Man, my face seems quite big again, doesn't it? Let me just shrink that down a bit. There we go. So you'll see all the images that I put up. Okay. Now, the X-Men 97 trailer came out, and basically people have thoughts. There are people that are really excited, but there's two complaints that I seem to be seeing. One is regarding one of the X-Men's voices that the voice actor is playing, and the other is regarding the animation, and that's something that stood out to me when I first saw the trailer. Now, I'm going to give you a quick backstory as to what I thought of the 90s X-Men series, the X-Men show from the 90s, the animated one. Now, I only saw a couple episodes of the 90s X-Men show, and that's because it just never came on TV when I was a kid. A couple episodes did, then it just stopped, which was so bizarre. So I wasn't able to see it. The only X-Men show that I managed to see a few episodes of when I was younger, like consistently, just a couple here and there, was X-Men Evolution. But I only got to see a couple. However, I am going through the show now, and I've just taken a huge break, unfortunately, because I got very busy. But I am currently on the final 2 episodes of Season 2, and then I'll have 2 more seasons to go. But yeah, I never got to watch much of the 90s show, unfortunately. So, now that you know my history with this show, and how I am not too attached to it, well, not attached to it at all, really, we can talk about the continuation of the show that Marvel is making, called X-Men 97. And I want to talk about the animation. Now, the original 90s show took advantage of its animation. Here, I'll show it to you right now. Where is it gone? That's bizarre. It's gotten rid of it for some reason. Here we go. Let's put it back in. Delete this for sucking. I don't know why it did not show it. Here we go. Okay, so here's animation from the 90s show. And here is another shot as well. So this is what the animation looked like in the original 90s X-Men show. Now, the original 90s show took advantage of the animation it was able to create back in the 90s, and even though the animation was 2D and flat, it looked like it had a lot of depth to it. I mean, just look at this, that you could see a lot of depth to them. They don't look like they're just flat characters. They look like 2-point... In a way, they're a bit... The way they're cel-shaded and everything, it feels like there's weight behind them when they're standing and when they're moving and everything. So like I said, it has a lot of depth to it, but the animation in the new show looks like it's completely flat with no depth to it. Here, I'll show you some pictures. Let's get rid of this from here and this, and then I'll just bring up a bunch of pictures for you. Here are a couple. You're gonna have to excuse the fact that you can't see my face too much, but here's a couple where you see some scenery and you see the X-Men there, and then here's a couple more. I gotta say, the animation looks inconsistent, is how to put it. And like I said, it looks, when you look at the X-Men in that cockpit, it looks like, whereas the original show had depth to it, the animation in the new show looks like it's completely flat and has no depth to it. It just looks cheap in a way. The animation also looks uneven. There are parts that look really good in the trailer, but then there are other parts that look like something out of that Archer show. And what's the Archer show? Well, Archer was this. Look at these people all holding up to stop mutants and everything. And just look at all that. And then look at the Archer people right here. It looks a bit like that kind of animation. But seriously, if you look at the trailer, you will just see how inconsistent the animation is. It's very inconsistent, looks very different in places. And Eric over there says it says it looks generic. There is a generic look about it. And there are parts that look really good, but then there are other parts that look like something out of that Archer show. And like I said, the animation, if you watch that trailer, you will see just how inconsistent the animation is. Some looks flat, and some looks like CGI, and there are only a handful of the animation that looked really good, at least going by the trailer. The best part of the animation was the final shot in the trailer where all the X-Men line up behind Cyclops. I thought that was really cool, and the music, the way it played, that was a really cool trailer moment, you could say. But yeah, I am disappointed with the animation in this show. I expected them to do better than what we ended up getting, but it should have looked more accurate to the original show. Instead, it just ends up looking cheap in a way. Yeah, Big Bash, I agree. Hand-drawn animation. That's what these 90s shows were. They were hand-drawn, whereas now it's all done on the computer, and it looks too clean, and the lines that the artists did over the characters as they drawed them, it provided like a lot of personality. But that personality is kind of missing now. They just look like coloring in books kind of characters in a way. So, and the animation was slow too, says Ali. I agree. The animation looked like it was lacking in places too with its movements. So, yeah, I am disappointed with the animation. I expected them to do better than what we ended up getting, and it should have looked more accurate to the original show, but instead it just ended up looking cheap to me. And the animation in the 90s show looked like the images had been taken straight out of the comic book and brought to life with animation. And it still holds up quite well in that regard, I'd say. I mean, just look at it. There's more color to it, and the animation just stands out more. It just has more depth to it. It looks more detailed in its own way, too. Whereas the animation we have now just looks too clean. It's got no grit to it anymore, it feels. I do like the widescreen bars, but at the same time I feel like that's a trick, because you can always make something look more cinematic with widescreen bars. And yeah, the other problem that people had, it was the voice. Wolverine's voice doesn't sound right in this show. Interestingly, they got the same voice actor from the 90s show doing the voice for Wolverine in this new X-Men show, but he just sounds older now, so yeah, I think they should have hired Steve Blum, who did the voice for Wolverine in that straight-to-DVD Wolverine vs. the Hulk animated movie. He has the perfect growly voice for Wolverine, and you need that here. But his voice in that one line that we heard in the trailer just didn't sound right for Wolverine anymore. So, yeah. That's one of the things I've got to say about that. But what do you guys think of the animation? Jess, it's not a remake. Let's see, Jess says it tried to be like Invincible with this animation in the new X-Men show. Is that true? It looks a bit like they're trying. I don't know if that's what they actually are doing. It looks like they're trying to stand by it, but also, yeah, making it a bit Invincible-like. But that's not what the original 90s animation was. So, yeah. This is supposed to be a continuation of that show with the continuity and everything. So, the fact they changed the animation, that's not a good touch to me. I think that's not good. So, yeah. You couldn't hear what Wolverine said, Bob the Builder. I could. I just didn't like the sound of it very much. It sounded weird. Yeah, we'll have to see what they do. They made Morph gay, changing characters' sexuality and genders, and changing their, their ethnicity seems to be a thing that Disney love doing. They love getting those pats on the back. It's fine to me. It's fine to me, says Elite. Okay, that's good. Rohan says it looks okay and good. Yeah, it does seem inconsistent in that way. Oh, it says here, your thoughts on Rogue not having her trademark big butt anymore. Some people say it was to be woke. It probably was. I'm not going to say it wasn't. I'm not going to say it was a bad thing to me, though, either. It's not something that I really care about. But again, I said I have no attachment to the show. So if you guys do, and that's a bad thing, then yeah, I can imagine why you guys wouldn't like that. Doesn't Wolverine have his shirt off at a point? So they're always flexing him and a bunch of certain other characters, but they don't want to flex any of the female ones. So yeah. Eric says, guys, we should start a GoFundMe and make a Captain Eric movie. Yeah, that would be funny if that happened, wouldn't it? Sailor Mercury says, I'd give it a chance, but I don't want to give Disney money for Disney Plus. Yeah, I don't blame you. Disney have made a lot of bad faith with their audience base and their customer base, so I don't blame you for not wanting to give Disney any chances in that regard. Spirit Hero says, like what they did to Lola Bunny in the second Space Jam. Yeah, again, I didn't care that for myself very much, but I see what you mean. The Dark Lord says, I'd say South Park has better animation. No, South Park's animation is deliberately meant to be crappy, and that's kind of where the joke comes in. It's kind of how they can get those out so quickly. I don't think it sucks completely, George Phillips. It just doesn't look as good as it should, I think. It does look very Archer-like, I think. And that look those CG troops, that looks like CGI. There are parts in it where it does come across very CGI-like, and I don't like that. Yeah, Bill, very much could, because they did say they wanted to make the X-Men more female-centric when they did their X-Men movie. So yeah, you could very much be right in that regard. So, anyone have any questions with regards to this show? I'm just going to try to move some of these images around so I can not have to tilt my head as far as I am, because it feels like everything is so cramped. There we go. You're tearing me apart since I had to go for a while. What did I miss? Yeah, you missed me talking about the X-Men, the show. Let's see. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. Just trying to bring more pictures in if I can. Yeah, let's just keep this in. Let's get rid of that. There we go, just shuffle some stuff around. George Phillips says, when the stream is over, I'm watching the OG X-Men series. Is it on Disney Plus? Yes, it is on Disney Plus. Yeah, and this show, just for your reference, this X-Men show is coming out in March the 20th, if I remember correctly. Caleb says, Eric, you got angry in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I did get angry because of the hypocrisy of Disney. And the fact that no one was really calling them out for it was something that I thought was silly. I hate anime says, have you ever been burnt out from YouTube? Yes, I have been. That's why sometimes it took longer for videos to come out. And also because I'm trying to make a living out of YouTube as well. That can also sometimes, the pressure of that can also sometimes, really weigh on you. But that's why I always say super chats and things you guys give, your viewership, sharing my videos out, giving them thumbs up so they could be recommended by YouTube's algorithm. All that stuff contributes and really helps, like, take the edge off. Especially with how generous you guys have been with donations and things. That has always really been, like, a big help. And a lot of you on Patreon have been joining there too, so that when you do stuff like that, that does always help. It takes the edge off. Marcus 1954 says, well, I gotta go. Have a good day, Eric, and keep up the good work. Thank you. Thank you very much. I've got an Echo video coming up soon. A few Echo videos. And then my final Let's Binge Watch Echo video. Yeah, I agree, Saeed. This, basically, those kind of standards don't apply if it's men. It only applies if it's women, is what basically the industry and just the law in general looks at it as. But yeah, that's just kind of what it is. Velka, I've been seeing you've been trying to post this message to me. You're saying, I hope that in the TMNT sequel they make Shredder a serious villain with no jokes, because what made Shredder stand out from other TMNT villains is that Shredder is a serious villain. I agree. I mean, he wasn't so serious in the 80s show, but he was in the 2000 show that I grew up with. Saeed says, any more YouTube uploads? Yes, I've got a few more uploads coming. I've got another video about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I've got, I think, about 2 videos coming out about Echo, and then a final third one. So you'll be having quite a few videos. And on Patreon, I'm going to be finally releasing my Let's Watch the Grinch, the Jim Carrey Grinch movie, where you'll see my thoughts as I was watching it and taking notes for my Versus video. Yeah, Feather Guardian, I finished the script. I'm just going to go over it, add a few more things, then tomorrow I'll hopefully start recording and editing it. Basically, I want a lot of these videos done in time for the Avatar The Last Airbender series, so then I can start spending my time on that. The Dark Lord says, that is sad to Jess. Megamind 2 makes Thor 4 look awesome. I wouldn't go that far. If you've seen my... I know, Jess, I think, yeah, you are on my Patreon. Yeah, you are. I'm sure you've seen my trailer reaction. I made it clear what I think of Megamind 2 on that. I don't like what they ended up doing, but Megamind is intended to be a TV thing. Thor Love and Thunder was intended to be a cinema thing, something on a movie for theatrical release in cinemas that they were going to charge people for. So yeah, I think that was far worse. You can, Saeed, but it will only give you updates. It won't let you have any of the perks. And so signing up is only $1, which is not even much. So you can get access to all my trailer reactions and my upcoming ones if you take that perk. Charleston says, did you ever watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? It's one of the better MCU shows, just like Daredevil, but it does have some off-putting CGI. I did for, was it a season maybe? And then I kind of got bored, but my dad kept watching it, and when the Winter Soldier came out and what they did with Hydra, my dad says that was apparently really good what they did with that, and I was curious to watch it to see how it connected, but I just didn't really, quite frankly, I was just couldn't make it through. The show was just really not for me. It really isn't after a point, but apparently it did get better and darker later. Patrick Style, we answered that question earlier. I do not think Deadpool and Wolverine will revive the MCU. I really don't. You guys are being too harsh. Megamind 2 animation looks amazing. Props to Cockmelon. Thing is, if you've seen the first movie, it actually doesn't look amazing. It looks like a TV show at budget, which is clearly what the intention was. It looks too empty and not as good compared to what it should be, so yeah. Caleb says, what is your favorite Marvel animated show? I don't know. I don't think they've got too many great ones. I can't really think of them off the top of my head, really. I'd probably say X-Men Evolution, because I'm watching that right now. Spectacular Spider-Man was a good show as well. Yeah, Doc Saber, there aren't any post-credit scenes. This shows that they clearly just didn't care about it for Madam Web. Spirit Hero, yes, I do have hope for Deadpool 3, but I don't have hope for the MCU beyond that, personally. EJP says, the biggest problem I have with the Sony spin-off movies is the shitty pacing. Yeah, very much. Let me check if anyone's done any Streamlabs chats. Nope, not at the moment. Bill Cypher says, Rohan, I'm trying to get Eric's attention. Well, like I always say, if you want to post a comment, you can post it, but I'm not going to be able to get to everyone. That's what the super chats and stuff are there for. If you really want to see me answer your question instantly, because then it'll be brought to my attention instantly, it'll be highlighted that way. Bob the Builder, have you seen Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes? No, but my younger brother, he had, when he was younger. A lot younger. He used to like it. Let's see, is there any new information with regards to Madame Web? Let me just have a quick look. Yeah, no, it does seem like the Bob Marley biopic has embarrassed Madame Web. And there's all these funny stories about Dakota Johnson, like how she didn't not have any idea what movie she was signing up for. Because me and my brother were talking about that, and I was posting this on my Instagram too, saying that it seems like she had no idea what she was signing up for. It's okay, Trevor. We've already talked about the 3 stories, but I'm accepting questions at this point now. So we're in the Q. We've been in the Q&A for quite a bit, and I think I did not even announce that we were in the Q&A. So let's go over here now. The G Gamer says, have you ever walked out of a theatre during a movie or close to it? No, I've never walked out during a movie. Although I have walked out because there's been issues. Either someone was talking too much, or there was a problem with the projection, or if there was some other kind of thing. That's all right, Eric. I missed that before. It's all right. But yeah, She-Hulk ruined my faith for Marvel. Yeah, She-Hulk was a bad show. But yeah, no, I've never walked out of the theatre because the movie was so bad. I did want to at one point. It's when I did a Versus video for that movie that I covered a while back. It was called Flatliners, the remake. I actually wanted to get out of the theatre because it was so bad, that movie. But I ended up staying. But yeah, I never leave a movie theatre once I've got a movie in there. Once I'm watching a movie in there, the only time I leave is if there's any other problems or crappy audience members or something and it's becoming too much. Saeed says, so do you think I should be watching the DC movies after what happened with Bassam Youssef? Because I'm split right now. If I like something, I feel guilty for watching or paying a ticket for it. Thing is, it depends on you individually, really, it does. But it's entirely up to you, and you got to weigh it yourself in terms of pros and cons. And yeah, if you don't want to ever pay for one of those movies again, then there are other ways to watch it. For example, you can watch it either via streaming, or you can use a free ticket or gift card points or something, you know, so you don't directly pay for it. Something like that. But it's entirely up to you. That's your decision in the end. But that Bassam Youssef, he is a very smart guy. He is, the way he talks, and he always talks sense. So for them to get rid of him, it just shows again where their mind is at. I Hate Anime says, why are you a horror movie fan but not a horror game fan? Before I answer that, Vilka, I already have answered this question of yours earlier. Maybe you missed it, but I said I agree. So anyway, I Hate Anime says, why are you a horror movie fan but not a horror game fan? I don't know, it's just with horror games. With horror movies, you watch the scare happen. With games, it's like you have to walk through the scares, and it's like the scary atmosphere game. To me, they're just too slow, these horror games. So they have to be combined with some other kind of genre. But the horror genre just doesn't really appeal to me in gaming. Which is why when I played The Last of Us, the first one, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it, because that was also a horror game, but it was so good how it was done. Jess says, Eric, we all want the Spider-Man game versus video. Is it happening? It's happening, but it's just happening very slowly because, like I said, I've got a lot of videos to work on. I've even got the Avatar thing coming up, so it is happening. It's just happening slowly. Let's see. I've got no thoughts on Monkey Man. It sounds insane, but I've got to see more. Just as Eric, you forgot to post your Spider-Man game versus video up. I've not forgotten. It's just going to be one of those that unfortunately takes longer. I feel like I've missed out on the window. It just took so long to make. Like I said, these game versus videos are not easy to make. They're harder to do. So, yeah. Let's see. Big Bash says, rewatch the symbiote arc from Spectacular Spider-Man. It aged so well. I feel that is how Marvel Spider-Man 2 should have done the black suit story, in my opinion. Yeah, it should have, because I don't think they did a particularly good job of it in that game. Master Combatant has given a $10 super chat, and then I've also got a Streamlabs chat as well, which I'll check out right in a second. He goes, off-topic question. What's your 3 favorite gaming series? For me, I'd say Arkham minus Suicide Squad Killer Justice League, Tomb Raider, and Mortal Kombat. Assassin's Creed is an honorable mention. 3 favorite gaming series. Okay, I'll say the Batman Arkham series minus Suicide Squad Killer Justice League, the Insomniac Spider-Man games, and let's see what others. Oh, of course I've got them covered up so I can't see them. Got all my PS4 games here, which I'm looking at. Oh, and the Uncharted franchise as well. I think the Uncharted franchise are also great. So, yeah. Those are my 3 favorite franchises that I can think of off the top of my head. Now, the Streamlabs Super Chat that someone sent me. And thanks very much, Master Combatant, again, for that $10 Super Chat. I really appreciate it. It's Yako, who's given me another £1 Streamlabs chat. Thank you very much for that, buddy. And Yako says, I'm really enjoying the live stream. If you're wondering where I will be, I'll just be off social media for a while and will only be live when I donate to you or my other favorite creators, and movies I will make will be completely privatized. Thanks, Eric. Oh, no problem. If they're privatized, send them to me and I'll see if I can check some out. Even if I can only check out a little bit of it, I'll make sure to check some of it out. And thank you very much for your continued support. It's nice to know that you're still on the channel. Like, even though you're not in the chat, it's nice to know that you're still chatting to me through Streamlabs. So it's like I can still chat with you during this. I really do like that you're still around. And I appreciate that you're still supporting me as well. So thank you very, very much, Yako. Rohan says, have heard Avengers Initiative is a game based off Infinity Blade. Infinity Blade, was an Infinity Blade that game that would be on iPhones a long time ago? To demonstrate what their graphical capabilities were. Jess says, Eric, Sony will have a better 100 years more than Disney 100 years. Do you agree? They probably will with some franchises, but I think Sony have been kind of bad as well lately. So, when they said, in the Madam Web, apparently, I was told that the opening had a 100 years at Columbia Pictures logo. That's not something to be celebrating at this point. It's kind of like when Disney shouldn't be celebrating that with Wish last year and with a bunch of their other movies last year, like the Marvels. It's like the same thing with Sony. They should not be celebrating that with a movie like Madam Web. Fireboy says, I'm going to go, Eric, so good night. Oh, good night to you too, buddy. Thanks very much for dropping by in the stream. Feather Guardian says, Mutant Mayhem isn't for everyone, but it's a solid film. Yeah, it was just... really wasn't for me. It really wasn't. You're going to have to try to find that, Velka, because I have no idea what timestamp it was when I responded that to you. You're going to have to skim through. But it was during the Q&A side. It was after my X-Men story, I'm pretty certain, when I answered your question. Darksaber says, what are thoughts on the live-action How to Train Your Dragon movie? Heard that they're race-swapping Astrid, which I have mixed feeling about. To me, there's no reason to make a live-action version. They got the original creator in there, of the animated movies to do it, so that's a good sign. but it's still, there's no point behind it. It's kind of like when they got the original creators at first to do the Netflix Avatar. This is before they got, before they quit. I still thought it was a dumb idea. I was like, what's the point? I don't need to see this again. So I thought it was a dumb idea there. It seems like a dumb idea now as well. So those are my thoughts on it. Probably a hard horror question, but which movie is better, says Trevor Bistro? The Shining or The Exorcist? That is a hard question, because I've only seen both those movies once. Shining I might have seen twice, but I can't remember. I'll say The Shining, and that's because the Doctor Sleep movie I felt added to The Shining and made it a better movie in a way. So I'll say The Shining. But The Shining was just very slow for me. Spirit Hero says, "Hey Eric, did you hear that the show creator of She-Hulk wanted to make it a sex-positive show for kids?" Seriously, who are these crazies that Marvel have bought into their house? Bought into their home? It's ridiculous. Sex-positive show for kids. You just don't show any of that to kids. You're not supposed to. You give them information in phases. And that's not a phase that you should be giving. That's way ahead. Just goes to show that Big Bad She-Hulk was just bad in so many ways. It really is, and it feels like it just gets worse. It just goes to show how they got crazy people on board, and they had the completely wrong intentions with making this show. And they put Daredevil in a show that is all about sex positive or whatever. It's pathetic. Yeah, Doc Saber, it shouldn't exist. At least they should have done a better version of it versus what they actually did. It was so pathetic. And what they did to Blonsky as well. That was also bad. Oh yeah, She-Hulk also did promote Megan Thee Stallion, didn't they? And what is she? She's a woman that just twerks. Not something that that I would say that they should flaunt, quite frankly, but hey, they did anyway. That's what the company of Disney is like now, isn't it? Patrick Stahl says, "Have you seen Blue Beetle yet?" Yes, I have. I saw it last month, I think. I wasn't a fan of it. It was close to being potentially put on one of my worst of movies list, but I didn't end up on the list because I did find fun in certain parts of it. Dark Saber says it should be retconned, to be honest. I think a lot of the MCU should be retconned. They need to do something like Deadpool kills the MCU, kills the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which there are comics of that. I feel like they really need to just do a Red Wedding situation, just get rid of a lot of the fat. Seriously, they just need to get rid of it and start afresh with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. The time of the Avengers is over. But they just don't seem to get the clue. Yeah, Daredevil was ruined. Just wait till you see the Kingpin in Echo. And what they did to him. And he's meant to be, going forward, supposed to be their street-level Thanos. But so, just like how Kang was supposed to be the next Thanos, Kingpin was meant to be the street-level Thanos, and they screwed them both over. They really, really did. It's like they say, yeah, these are going to be our main villains going forward, but then why do you embarrass them in their debuts? Seriously. Master Combatant says, thoughts on Legend of Korra? I give the show overall a 7.5 out of 10. Books 3 and 4 are the best in my opinion, and I give them both a 9 out of 10 apiece. Book 1 is decent, and Book 2 is infuriatingly frustrating. And you're giving your score 6.5 out of 10 and 4.5 out of 10. I think Book 1 was a good introduction. Could have been better, but was a good introduction. Season 2 was the worst one. I liked it, but it was definitely the worst one. Season 3 was apparently where I remember where things got really quite good, especially with the villains they had. And Season 4 I remember was also really good, except for the ending. I didn't buy Korra and Asami. I felt like that was just so... A lot of people felt that at the time. They were like, where did that come from? That was a very last-second thing. It felt so last-second, in fact, that it made me think that the equivalent would be if at the end of Avatar The Last Airbender, Sokka and Aang all of a sudden got together. It just felt very off, I think. Spirit Hero says close-ups of women twerking. How sex positive. Yeah, you're right. It really was bad. By the way, Master Combatant, thank you very much for the $20 super chat. I really do appreciate it. Really helps. It really, really does. And like I said, if anyone wants to do super chats, you can. I'll answer your question immediately. And if you do the Streamlabs chat, all the donation 100% comes to me and none of it goes to YouTube. Thought I'd put that out there just in case anyone new came to the stream. Let's see. 49 of you right now. Elite says Kingpin was bad in Echo. He was barely in the show and took his anger away, which was dumb to me. I don't even know if that's what she succeeded in doing, though. So it was like, what did she actually do? Feather Guardian says Korra and Asami doesn't have any romantic chemistry. I agree, and a lot of people agreed at the time. They were like, this just feels so out of nowhere. But then you got the activist types that were saying, oh, look at that. They've done an LGBTQ couple. And it's like they're saying that just from that ideology point alone, we'll give it a thumbs up. It was great that they did that. But I'm just coming at it from an audience member perspective. I was like, where did that even come from? That just felt so out of the blue. You're tearing me apart says something that is also off topic. I haven't seen Mutant Mayhem, but based on your worst of 2023 video, I don't think I will. I never liked that kind of Seth Rogen humor either. I was going to say you should watch it until you just said that you don't like that Seth Rogen humor. If that's the case, then yeah, it probably wouldn't be for you, because if you didn't like that kind of humor, you're not going to like it here. Vilka says, Eric, what made the symbiote fights not that good in Marvel Spider-Man 2? Because to me, they were better than Kraven Henchman fights. Is it the Nest fights that were not that? The Nest fights weren't that great. But my big problem is that they took out the gadgets. The gadgets used to be like, you had a big wheel that you could choose from. And there was like so many gadgets in there. I can't remember, was it 8 gadgets or something? Or 9? But now they've taken it down to 4. 2 of them are the most unimpressive gadgets, the ones that were not even my favourites. And they've just changed the gadget system to the point that it feels like the gameplay mechanic has completely changed, and it's not as fun, in my opinion. So I think that was a real big problem. A real big problem, what they did to the gameplay there. George Phillips' best LGBT couple in media is Ellen and Riley from The Last of Us Part 1. But that didn't really go anywhere, though, did it? That was part of the DLC. And it was meant to be just giving you a filler, not a filler actually, no, a bit of backstory for what happened with Ellie before, you know, how she found out the bite didn't affect her. Saeed says, will the Deadpool kill the MCU? I hope so. Because I don't like a lot of the MCU as it stands. Caleb says, have you seen X-Men animated series? It's great. No, I haven't. I saw a couple episodes when I was younger, but it never came on TV, unfortunately, which is a shame because I did want to watch it when I was younger, but yeah, it just wasn't available. Okay, any more questions you guys have? Is your score for Hawkeye still an 8 out of 10, says Cole. I don't know, because I have to see it again to know for sure, but I would say probably 7 it's gone down to now, if I was to reflect on it. But I did like that show, I did. Charleston says, do you think the contact lens Kingpin gave Echo in the Echo series was the copy and paste from the contact lens camera used in the Batman? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Because they served a different purpose, didn't they? So, but who knows? Maybe. I'm not saying I know for sure, but I wouldn't think so. What do you think about Pedro Pascal as Reed? I talked about it earlier in the stream. I think he's becoming too overexposed and he's way too recognizable. He's way too recognizable, I think, to where I can't really see the character of Reed Richards there, but I see the actor more than I do the character. So I would have liked it if they would have gotten a no-name actor, like they did with Robert Downey Jr., who was a no-name actor at the time, and had him play Iron Man. I wish they would have done something like that for Reed Richards, but instead they played the safe route and got an actor who people know the name of. So they wanted to get a name in this case. Dark Saber says, have you ever seen Transformers Prime? I was able to finish it recently, and it's one of, if not the best Transformers content I've ever seen. No, I haven't. Actually. Is Transformers Prime the one that was on Netflix? It had 3 seasons, was it? Where Optimus Prime was younger? Because if so, I did watch some of that, and I found it very boring. I had to force myself to watch through all of season 1. And then I think I did sit through all of season 2 as well, but they just had no music in the background. It's like they forgot to compose music for it. If that is the one that you're talking about. Charleston says, the villain for Deadpool 3 needs to be Mickey Mouse acting like the South Park parody. That would be funny. But no, the villain they've got is, I think they teased the villain. It was the bald person in there, so I hope it's not just a throwaway villain. It has to be a cool villain, I think. Master Combatant. It says here, this is your 20th super on a live stream. Thank you very much for the continued support with the super chats. I really do appreciate that. That's another $20 super chat. Says, continuing on with his questions about Korra, I was mixed on Korra's character at first, but the end of book 2 is when I started warming up to her, and I started liking her a lot in book 3 and 4. Korra Asami is strange, but it's fine. I love Zahir, Aman, Kuvira as villains. Yeah, those 3 were great. What was his name? Tarlok? Was that his name in season 2? Yeah, he was such a generic villain. He was an obvious villain too. At the beginning, you could tell it was that he was the villain, just the way they were lighting him and everything. I'm surprised they managed to make the villain so weak in that. Oh, George Phillips says it's not the same. I think that was War for Cybertron. Yeah, that was War for Cybertron. Yeah, sorry. Then no, I haven't seen Transformers Prime. But yeah, I'll say the thing is different, Master Combatant. When Korra was told Tenzin to basically beat it and piss off in season 2, that's when I hated her. I was like, she's just being... It's what I thought of her at the beginning of in the first episode of season 2, episode 1. I thought she was just being a bitch. And that's what she was. And she was being a bitch to everyone. She apologized to them later, specifically to Tenzin. But I was a teenager. Korra's supposed to be a teenager, and I was a teenager when I was watching The Legend of Korra at the time. So I was like, I should be able to relate to you, and I can't, because even I wouldn't be that rude to the people that have basically, raised me and look after me. I would never do that, speak that way to them like she did. And the way she did it, apologizing later, I was like, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't have gone that far in the first place and be that heartless about it. So, yeah, I thought from that point onwards, I just could never like Korra again. And I always found her to be the least interesting character, to be perfectly honest with you. Looks like we've got another Streamlabs chat. Let's take a look at that right now and answer. Like I say, when you get do super chats and Streamlabs chats, it makes it a lot easier for me to answer your questions directly. So that's probably the best thing. Patrick Style, who, thank you very much for the £1 super chat, says, I know you've seen the 2003 TMNT show, but have you seen the 2012 one? That version is my personal favourite. I think it has a good blend of seriousness and humour, and it easily has the best version of Splinter. I have seen that. It's because my younger brother, when he was growing up, I wanted him to have a Turtles to grow up on as well. And I tried to show him that one, and we both really enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much as the 2003 one, but eventually we dropped off. I think it was towards the end of Season 2, like Season 2, Episode 15 or something like that. That's kind of where we just stopped. And we never kind of continued, which is unfortunate. But I've heard good things about it. So yeah, that was the last good one they did before they started to all get just... It's like they just stopped caring. Saeed says, bye Eric, it's been a pleasure in this stream. Oh, thanks very much. Bye to you too. Thanks for joining the stream. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Big Bash says, I hate when people disrespect their parents. Yeah, me too. Jacinda says, your thoughts on Christopher Nolan thinking about wanting to write a horror movie. I thought it would always be cool for Christopher Nolan to do a horror movie for as long as I can remember. Ever since he did Inception, I was thinking the whole concept of dreams. I was like, imagine if he incorporated some of the rules of his dream world into and made a horror scenario out of it. I thought he could always do that. You know, manipulate the dream. It would be a bit close to Nightmare on Elm Street, but I always thought there was a way to where he could do it to where it would feel original. So, but yeah, he's not done that, so that was kind of, you know... I feel like there are potentials. I would like him to finally get to doing one. I want to see what a Christopher Nolan horror movie would be like. And, again, thank you, Patrick, for giving me that £1 super chat. I really appreciate it. Like, very, very much. Spirit Hero says, have you heard they're making another Predator movie? I'm disappointed that they're not bringing Adrian Brody's character back. Yeah, I'm not disappointed because I've seen them do it for so long now. I've kind of just forgotten about Predator 3. I don't expect them to do a sequel to that. But yes, I've heard they're doing another Predator movie. It's going to have another female lead as well, so we'll see what happens. Master Combatant says, in my opinion, Korra was fine, except for the fact that she kept yelling at Tenzin. That's the thing that made you hate her. It's like, how can anyone yell at Tenzin? He's just like the most coolest person that you could find in that show in terms of his emotional state. And she was being so rude to him, like disgustingly rude to him. In the latter half of the show, I think she got a lot better. She did, but to me, I was like, you can't just walk back from that. That was too much. So she really bothered me in that, personally, and I've never been able to like really forgive her for that. And the relationship with her and Mako, how it just got so ugly, and it really got ugly because of her. I always thought Mako should have stayed with Asami, personally. Even when I was rewatching Korra, I'm rewatching Korra. I've taken a break from that. I'm on season 3 now. But watching Mako and Asami, I'm like, there's a couple that could continue. Like, even when she was crying about her father. And, you know, how she felt alone and everything. And then he says that, you know, he lost his parents as well and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, they would have been a great couple. I don't see why her and Korra would be a couple, personally. I just don't see, you know, the appeal for those two. That's what I said. It felt very random last second. They could be like sister types, like best friends, is how it seemed like they were trying to make them. But a romantic couple to me just felt so... more like they were trying to tick a checkbox than tick a character box, if you know what I mean. Feather Guardian says, wasn't Tenzin voiced by J.K. Simmons? Yes, he was. It was surprising to me. I was like, wow, you go from being the loud J. Jonah Jameson to being this. And he also voices Omni-Man, so he's very good when it comes to voices. And then you watch, of course, you've seen him shout in a way that's considered comical, like as J. Jonah Jameson. But then you hear him shout in that Whiplash movie, and I was like, damn, he can make this... Being shouted at by J.K. Simmons can be funny as Jameson, but it can also be scary as that crazy teacher that he was. Aceriptic says, who should make Spider-Man 4, Marvel or Sony? I honestly don't know, because I think they're both screwing up. So, I wouldn't trust Kevin Feige, and I wouldn't trust Sony either. So I think neither of them should. I think they both suck. They both need to really take a good hard look at themselves and then get their shit together before they even consider making another movie. Spirit Hero says, I have homework to do, so I'll be going now. Till next time, Eric. Yeah, no problem. It was till next time to you too. Thanks very much for joining the stream. Charleston says, how excited are you for The Boys Season 4? I'm wanting to see what could happen if Homelander snaps towards the world if the Flight 37 video gets released. Yeah, that's something that we're all waiting on. It feels like every season he gets crazier and crazier, and you're just waiting for him to snap. So yeah, I'm looking really forward to that. That's another thing I'm really looking forward to. And apparently it's going to connect to what happened in the Gen V. Because Gen V introduced something which we can definitely be something that they'll use in the next season. So yeah, and I hear rumours that that'll be the last season where Homelander and Butcher are in. I've heard rumours of this is the last season they'll be in. George Phillips says, hey Eric, what do you think in Hollywood why do you think in Hollywood the Brit is usually a baddie? Brian Cox said because they mistrust intelligence in a Top Gear interview. I don't know, I've never really considered that because Christian Bale is a Brit and he became Batman. Robert Pattinson is a Brit and he became Edward in Twilight, and he became Batman. You know, good guys. Although you could argue that with Edward. So yeah, I don't really know if I subscribe to that idea that they play just bad guys. Maybe some of them do, but I feel like I'm surprised at how many, British people are ended up playing good guys, like good American characters, and I'm like, huh, I didn't even know you were British. So yeah. Erythra says the only saving grace for Sony with the Spider-Man property are the Spider-Verse movies and the Insomniac games. Yeah, I agree. But even the Insomniac games are being a bit funny with how they're, hinting at future games. Like Miles Morales is going to be the main Spider-Man now, not Peter Parker. That to me shows signs that they're getting a bit weird now too. They shouldn't, they shouldn't do that. They should just do it as it is. It would work fine. Let's see. Feather Guardian says, I have a theory that Ryan will make Homelander snap, and that he's the child of solidarity, and that he's the child. Let me read that again. I have a theory that Ryan will make Homelander snap, and that he's the child of Soldier Boy and Stormfront. I don't know if that would happen. Soldier Boy and Stormfront getting at it? I mean, actually, it could happen, but I doubt it. That's not going to happen because the way that Ryan was born is because Homelander... I'm not going to use the word on YouTube because they don't like it, but Homelander took advantage of Butcher's wife, and that's how Ryan was born, we figured out. Big Bash says, I think Peter is just on break. Yeah, but the way they phrased it, it sounded very odd. It didn't sound like he said I'm on break. It sounded more like he's saying that you can take over for me. Like, I can just stop. It felt like that. He could have said, I need to take a little bit of time away. Something like that, but he didn't even say that. He goes, Miles, you're fine now, right? Like, he's trying to go like that. So it felt like they were trying to say that Miles is going to replace him. So they're probably going to incorporate him, but I feel like they're going to really make it more Miles' game, which I hope they don't do. Yes, Caleb, I heard that that they're not toning it down. They're just getting rid of it. Soccer's sexism. Which is ridiculous. It goes to show how they have no freaking idea what they're doing. I Hate Anime says, have you played Ghost of Tsushima? I have, but I never played more than I should have. Because I got very busy, and the game takes a lot. It's not a straightforward single-player campaign. There's a lot of there's some grinding you have to do and leveling up. I don't like doing those normally. But apparently that was something that I also had to do, so yeah. Alec Barton says, hey Eric, since we're talking about Legend of Korra so much, we should vote on if we should include it in the Avatar Versus video, and also you might have missed a super chat. Oh, have I missed a super chat? In terms of Legend of Korra, now we don't need to do a Versus with Legend of Korra. If there's any Versus videos that I need to do, the Versus videos that I need to do are the ones with the Avatar live action show and maybe the Shyamalan movie with the live action Netflix show. That's what I need to do it with. Adding Legend of Korra is a comparison that I don't think anyone wants to see. I'm not even interested personally in even writing that comparison because there's no point. Have I missed a chat that you've said? I think I've got them all. I can't have missed a chat. No, I haven't missed a chat. I'm going through them. There's no missed one. I've accounted for all of them. Rohan says, the reason I hate Warner Brothers so much is because of they're not interested in Superman. Not in a Superman movie, show, and a video game. They're only interested in a show because they did do that Superman show, didn't they? So they are interested in that. They just never wanted to make a movie, it felt like. So, but now David Zaslav came and he says, yeah, Superman movie is what we're going to be doing. So yeah, that is what they're going to be doing. So yeah, as well as that, Superman game is something we all wanted Rocksteady to do, but unfortunately they're not. And again, that's because of Warner Brothers. Jordan Smith says, thoughts on Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. I grew up reading the books and I loved those. The movies were disappointing after the third film. 1, 2, and 3 were good, but 4 and onwards, they just kept cutting too much out of the book to the point that it was a huge problem. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave the chat in 15 minutes. I'm going to end the stream, so if there are any super chats, any Streamlabs chats, or any questions you want to ask me, be sure to ask them in the next 15 minutes, because then I am out of here. Where does Aquaman rank in your top DC movies of all time? I don't know. I've not created a list. But he'd probably be in the top 10, maybe. Somewhere there. Have Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit scared to shit out of you as a kid? You mean not Judge Doom, it was called... Was he called Judge Doom? I can't remember his name. What was his name? It was freaky for sure. That is definitely true. He definitely was freaky, and it's surprising because you didn't even realize it was the bloody Doc from Back to the Future. But yeah, that was freaky. Didn't scare me much though, but it was freaky. It could definitely scare little kids. But I can't remember how old I was when I saw it. I was a kid, and it didn't scare me. Probably because I was watching movies that kids normally wouldn't watch, like the first Batman, for example. Feather Guardian says, in Korra, I didn't like how Aang and Toph were terrible parents. Toph was kind of a bit of a dismissive one. Aang, he wasn't really a terrible parent. It seemed like he favoured Tenzin, though. Took him out on a lot of things because Tenzin was an airbender. So I wouldn't say that makes him terrible, but it definitely shows that he's human. Like, you know, he's got some flaws like some dads, but I don't think he was a deadbeat type. Patrick Style says, what is your ideal Justice League lineup for the new DCU? My ideal Justice League lineup is the ones from the original Justice League animated show. So Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Hawkgirl, The Flash, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter. And I think that's it. That's basically my main Justice League team from the original Justice League show, the animated show. Charleston says, what would you consider the worst film you've ever seen, excluding Cars? I don't know. There are a lot of bad movies, though. Venom 2, I'd say, is one of the worst movies. It was just so bloody bad. It was like, I just didn't even like listening to it. So I'd say that is one of the worst. Excuse me, Sir Captain Eric. What if Topher Grace returned in Venom 3? I don't know how to even answer that. It's like, it would just be ridiculous if that actually happened. So I don't know. Eric says, oh my god, Captain Eric, what is your rating for Thor Ragnarok? I swear, if you answer the comment before mine or after mine, I'm leaving. If you mean if I answer a comment before yours or after yours? I don't even know what that means. Before it or after it. So that means if I answer it, will you be leaving after I answer it? I don't know. What score rating did I give? Was it a 6 or 7 or 6? Was it a 6? I might have been a 6, I think. So yeah. Master Combatant has given another $20 super chat. Thank you very, very much. You're so incredibly generous with your super chats today. Thank you very much. Brings a big smile to my face, so thank you. Like I say, these super chats, Streamlabs chats, they all help me make a living out of this. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate the support. Master Combatant says, I forgot to mention before, but I wanted to mention that my favourite thing in Aquaman 2 are Arthur and Orm's dynamic. I did like that too. Orm's arc, Black Manta, some of the action, the return of music from the first film, and the final act. The music was a disappointment for me, I think, in that second film. I really found it disappointing. I wish they could have properly built upon it, like some movies have with their music, like Spider-Man 2, or The Dark Knight, or Batman Returns. You know, a lot of movies actually have really, like, expanded on their theme in their second film. But Aquaman 2, unfortunately, did not. It was such a shame. But yeah, I did like, there was definitely elements to like in Aquaman 2 for sure. I did, there was stuff that I did like. Eric I am better says, also, I meant the comment about mine or below, oh yeah, or below yours. Okay, that makes sense. Eric, hey Eric, what is your thoughts on the Switch now? What do you mean the Switch? Do you mean the Nintendo Switch, Alec Barton? Also, in answer to your previous question, Alec Barton, about why they've not made another Green Lantern movie, I wouldn't say it's just because of Ryan Reynolds' movie. I'd say it's predominantly because they just haven't gotten to it, because they didn't have success in other areas. If they did, then they would have gotten to Green Lantern, but they never got around to it. Oh, Orangutan, good to see you in the chat. I haven't seen you in here for... I think I haven't seen you in the chat at all, actually, so yeah. Oh, so yes, you were asking about the Nintendo Switch, Alec Barton. The Switch is still not for me. I wanted third-party games on the Switch, but they just never were coming, and they took so long. And by the time some of the games that I would want on the Switch, like the Batman Arkham series, we had the Steam Deck come out. So I was like, alright, I got the Steam Deck. I've been playing the Arkham games on it for a couple years now, on the portable device. Meanwhile, Nintendo, their version of the Arkham games came out just about 3 months ago, and they cost a heck of a lot more too. So I was like, yeah, there's no reason for me to buy a Switch now, because I've already been playing these games for a couple of years, including Arkham Origins, and at better frame rates, and much better graphic settings too. So yeah, there's no point for me to go to the Nintendo Switch. All the games I want to play, the third-party games, the big budget games, they're all on there. And if I want to play any Nintendo games, I've already got a DS, a 3DS, and I can play emulated Nintendo games on the Steam Deck. So, yeah, I'm all good, perfectly good. Aritra says, "Did you know that a new movie with Ryan Reynolds that isn't Deadpool 3 is coming out called If?" Yes, it's called If, stands for Imaginary Friends. It's directed by Emily Blunt's husband. What was his name? John Krasinski. Almost just lost it for a second there. Yeah, it's directed by him, and it's a more family-friendly movie. It's like a Pixar movie in live action, apparently. I think, if that's what their pitch was or something. Alec Barton says, "What are your thoughts on Narnia and Hogwarts Legacy is great on Switch?" My thoughts on Narnia, as I've only read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe book. I didn't read the others. The movies were alright, wasn't too fond of them. And Hogwarts Legacy, I can't imagine, is great on Switch. Yeah, they did a very good job translating it onto that system. But I've got Hogwarts Legacy, and it's on my Steam Deck, and it runs pretty well, but you got to do it on low to medium graphic settings. But there's a lot of wait times where you just got to just do small missions to advance the story, the single play campaign, and I don't like that. And from what I've read, only 25% of players actually completed the whole game. The rest kind of got stuck in the middle or just stopped continuing because the game was so long, and I am one of those people that did not finish it. Eric says, "Captain Eric, what's your rating for Iron Man 1? If it's not an 8 out of 10, my dogs will cook you." Yes, it is an 8 out of 10. It's always been an 8 out of 10 since the first time I saw it. It's never been able to go higher, though, and it's never been able to go lower, either. What if Monster House was PG-13, says Bill Cipher. Well, it felt like it almost was PG-13, because that was quite a dark movie the way they did it, which was really cool. Master Combatant, you are at it again with more super chats. A $10 super chat. Thank you very, very much for that. I really, really appreciate it. The final act of Aquaman 2 is when the movie finally reaches the same waters, no pun intended, as the first film. The battle felt both poetic and climactic and was shot fantastic. There was definitely more creativity there. I did say in my review that I liked it a lot when it got to the climax. It still doesn't compare to the quality of the climax in the first one, but it definitely was really good. I actually really enjoyed it. It definitely did get better, I think, than the rest of the movie of Aquaman 2. So, yeah, I think it was great on with the climax. It was fun. I wouldn't say great, actually. It was good. The first one was great. The climax in the second one was just decent. It definitely had some really good ideas there, but still, they could have accomplished it better, I think. But let me know if you've got any other thoughts on Aquaman, and I'll let you know what I think. George Phillips says, "On Hogwarts Legacy, I didn't change the settings at all, and it runs fine." On Steam Deck, is that what you're talking about, George Phillips? George Phillips says, "Also, Eric, when you said that you didn't finish Hogwarts Legacy, do you mean the campaign or the collectibles?" The campaign, because they block you from continuing the campaign until you've done some side missions and some side stuff. It's just not that fun when you do that. It's such annoying when they get you to do that, I think. It's such a shame. Like, that should be an option, but the way they just say, no, you have to do all these side missions, it's what I don't like about RPGs, is that they just take forever. It's why I've not played The Witcher 3, because apparently that also takes forever. I wish there were more skimmed down versions for more, you know, for more casual players like myself. And yeah, Master Combatant, I agree with what Noah says. The army was smaller, whereas in the first one it was huge. And I didn't think the build-up to it was as effective, so therefore it didn't hit as hard. But there was definitely still stuff to enjoy in Aquaman 2. If there's anything else you want to ask me about Aquaman 2, be sure to, and I'll, before the stream is over in the next 3.5 minutes, and I'll answer what you have to say about Aquaman 2. Bill Tyver says, I just found out that J.K. Simmons was also in Gravity Falls. He does a lot of voiceover work, doesn't he? Captain Eric, what do you think of this YouTuber called Eric Carter? I don't know. Sounds like... I don't know. Sounds like he might go places one day. Who knows? I need to watch some of his videos, though, to know for sure. Funny says, my first time watching you was a Ghostbusters 1984 versus 2016, which I agree with everything you said. Oh, really? Yeah, I'm surprised that video brought you over, because I've not heard many people say that one brought them over. They got brought over by the other ones. But I'm glad that you still watch me after all that. Thank you very much for that. I Hate Anime says, I haven't watched or played The Last of Us show and game. Should I play the game or watch the show first? Play the game. I stopped watching the episodes because they just weren't anywhere near as well acted or well shot or well paced or anything as much as the first game was. So yeah, I would say, because once you watch the game and then you go into the show, you'll be like, how is the show nowhere near as good or effective? So yeah, that's my thoughts on that, to be honest with you. And I've got a $5 super chat from Master Combatant again. Seriously, thank you very much, buddy, for these super chats. Ask all these Aquaman questions in the next couple of minutes before the stream ends so that I can answer. If you've got any others that you want to have me answer, I can. The Master Combatant says, I like the way the final battle felt like a conclusion to Arthur and Manta conflict. It also felt like a rematch between Atlan and Kordax. I do agree with that. I do like the idea of it being a conclusion to Arthur and Manta's conflict, but I just wish that everything they had gone through in that movie was better. That way it would have led to a climax that felt even more impactful. As is, it didn't hit me in the feels as much as it should have. It didn't feel as satisfying of, a revenge story as it should have. And yeah, because Black Manta in the comics kills Aquaman's son. He didn't do it in this movie, so I wonder what would have happened if they did go down that route. It would have made a much more... Him sparing Black Manta's life would have been a much more emotional thing if something like that had happened. But I did like how the baby was using its wave powers as well. That was such a cool touch, which I did not expect. What did you think of the baby using its wave powers the way it was? That, to me, I was like, oh wow, that hit me. I was like, that's actually really cool how it did that. Elite says, alright, Captain Eric, I'm going to head out now. Get ready for the movie. Catch you later. No problem. I hope you enjoy your movie. And yeah, have a wonderful time. Thanks very much for joining the stream. I really appreciate it. And let me know what you think of the movie when you come back. Just leave a comment on one of my videos and I'll see. Take care, buddy. I do agree with what Noah said about the battle with Kordax, how he broke free of his chains and they just threw a trident at him and, he lost. Nothing beats Arthur summoning all animals, all sea creatures in the first movie. Yeah, I do think that was a bigger, better thing. Even the music in the climax was much more epic and so well composed and conducted in the first movie. Bill Cypher says, goodbye everyone, I'll remember you all in therapy. Okay, I'll give you guys one more minute if there's any questions you want to submit, and then I'll answer those, and then I am out of here. Just as I'm still here, read my comment. Okay, let's see. Where is your comment? Eric, the guy who ate a cockroach in Aquaman 2 was a stupid idea to end the DCEU. It didn't bother me that much. They could have played it really goofy. They didn't. They played it very matter of fact. And it felt like it was something being joked about by Aquaman to tease his brother. It felt like he was being a bit of an asshole. It felt like he was being... But I thought it was funny. So I can imagine how some people wouldn't like it. But I've seen far worse jokes, personally. And clearly they didn't think that was going to be the end of the DCEU. But, yeah. Rohan, you gotta post your comment again or super chat it. That's the best way I can see it because I still get a lot of questions and comments here. Charleston, that'll be interesting if that is the release date, but I don't know if that is for sure. It could just be a release, like an error in their release schedule, but I would be shocked if it came out next year. Rohan says, I think you should watch Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes. It's a great show. Well, if you want me to watch a show like that, put it... I'm going to be having Patreon stuff where I'll be able to say to people that if you want me to do it, then you can commission it. Because I've been having some people asking me to do commission videos. And then I can watch it if you want me to, but... Yeah, we'll talk about that. It'll have to be commission type based. Because you can see I'm still slowing down on these other videos I gotta do. So that's why. Master Combatant has done another $5 super chat. Man, your generosity seriously knows no ends. In my opinion, I didn't really mind when Arthur one-shotted Kordax. I just wanted to see Arthur and Manta. Yeah, I can imagine, yeah, because that's the bigger story that you want. The other one was just another bigger story on top of the big story. So I can imagine what you mean. But I think they could have done better, I think, with that. Because they were showing it was to be a big threat. I wanted to see how much of a threat it would have been. That would have been interesting. But yeah. Okay, everyone, unless there's any more super chats or Streamlab chats that pop in at the last second like it has happened on previous streams, I'm going to be closing this live stream out. So thank you very, very much for your continued support, guys. I really appreciate it. Gregory Bronstein. Everyone, let's put a name here. Give me a second. Little thing has just happened right now. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'll put it down here. Let me just put someone's name right underneath this Patreon here. Bear with me just a second. Funny, you might want to stay here for a second. Hold on. Because I did say to you guys, if you do this, if you become a patron, I'll basically put you under this right here. So, give me a second, because you're going to want to hear this. Gregory Bronstein has become a patron. Now, Gregory Bronstein has already been a patron, has been supporting me on Patreon for a while now. But I've not announced to you guys yet that there is supposed to be... Yeah, new Patreon member. I said if any of you are a new Patreon member during a live stream, I'll put your names underneath the Patreon members, George Phillips. I've said that to all of you whenever I do these. And I said... And, well, George... Jacinda, you might want to stay and wait for a second. Quick little bit, I'll tell you guys. Basically, I say if you ever become a patron, I'll put your name here. And Gregory Bronstein has just upgraded his Patreon tier to a video that I've to one of my new patron tiers. So Gregory was already donating to me $9.50 to be a top patron member to get my Let's Watch movies and shows reviews and stuff. But he's now updated to $350, which is a commission-based video. It's a new one that I've done, and by doing that, he can request a Versus video. And what Versus video has Gregory requested for me to do? I'll read it out loud right here. He says, now that I've joined the request perk, can you do a Versus video for Puss in Boots 1 versus Puss in Boots 2? Guess what, guys? Turns out, Puss in Boots 1 versus Puss in Boots 2 is going to be the next Versus video I make. And you all have Gregory to thank for that, because he, as trying this out as a commission base, see if this is something that you guys would be interested in. Turns out some of you are, so yep, that's the next video I'll be working on. Funny says yes. Yeah, Jess is like, yeah, do it, Eric. Yep. I said I was only gonna do this. I was only gonna do this eventually, but now Gregory has pushed it right to the front of the release line. So do you know what that means? It means I gotta watch Puss in Boots 1 again, which I thought I wasn't gonna do until a while later. And then it also means that I'm gonna have to watch Puss in Boots 2 again, and then I'm gonna have to write the script, make the whole video, and you guys have Gregory to thank for that, because otherwise this would have taken a while. And the fact that you get to hear it on this live stream, right at the end of the live stream, and right when I was about to leave, yeah, so all of you give a big thank you to Gregory. I don't know if he's in the live stream watching right now, but the fact that he's asked for this during a live stream basically means that this is going to definitely be a moment for him to remember, moment for me to remember. This is the first time someone has chosen this Patreon perk. So if any of the rest of you want me to do a video like this where for use for yourselves, and you want to request something from me, head on over to my Patreon and you will see, and then you can commission a video from me as well. So thank you very much, Gregory. Thank you very much, all of you. It's very nice that I was able to share this moment with you and that you were able to see it as well. So yeah, a lot of you seem to be grateful to Gregory, so that will be the next video I'll be working on. So thanks very much, all of you, for watching. Thanks very much for supporting me on Patreon, and a huge thanks to Gregory for being the first one to take advantage of my commission-based perks on Patreon. So thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Hopefully this is a live stream that ends on the highest note possible, and I will catch all of you very soon. Take care, everyone.